Here are my 2 points. 1,
if you're buying,
and number 2,
if you're selling, if you're not quite sure where to start.
Thank you for doing a good job as always, and your analysis is spot on.
Talk to Dan Gemus and his team. Find them at dangemus.com. And now, filling in for Dan Gemus, your host, Joyce Blackmere.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. With me in studio, I have Aaron Blackmere, sales rep with the team. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Aaron, so we're going to talk about some reasons why homes are not necessarily selling the first time around. So the first time around, meaning within the prescribed time period of the listing agreement. Potentially, maybe they're just sitting a little bit longer on the market, just in general. And I know that a lot of sellers have questions about this right now because we're coming out of a market, and it's been a pretty stark change. Like going into COVID when the prices were going sky high, buyers had to adapt, and now things have changed and sellers are having to adapt. So it's just the opposite side of the spectrum here. Yep. And I know that sellers have questions about that because the days on market have increased. The average days on market for most areas, depending on the price point that you fall in and your specific neighborhood or the attributes your home might have to offer. Right. But let's talk about some of the reasons why homes are not selling the first time around, and maybe some advice on what could be done to help offset it, because it's not a reason to panic.
No.
Not necessarily, anyways, right? It's not a reason to panic just because your house didn't sell in 7 days, because that is not reality for the most part right now.
Abnormality there for a pandemic time when 7 to 10 days was your average on market. There was a lot of panic buying. There was the talk of housing shortage, which we still are kind of under effect with. But now we're seeing more inventory on the market, which is going to give buyers a little more option. So obviously things are going to take a little longer because, when there's options, you're not going to rush into something in 7 days, and you're not going to forego the home inspection and all that. So, definitely it's going to take longer time on market.
Yeah. And that's a positive thing, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Because I always said it was always nice to know if there was no money a couple days after the offer was made with the financing condition, rather than 5 days before closing when everybody's panicking.
Or the day of.
Or the day of, and no one has money.
Right.
So it's definitely nice to have conditions back, whether people like it or not, but it's definitely protecting everyone.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter where you live, whether you're in Windsor and Essex County or no matter where you are. It's, it's a emotional process. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. Well, let's just get to the list.
The big thing I want to say too is if your house doesn't sell in 7 to 10 days, doesn't mean something's wrong with it. It's not a dump. It's not. It's not anything like that. It's just we're not 7 to 10 days anymore. It's definitely extended.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll go into that in the stats a little bit later. Okay. So number 1 is always pricing strategy, right? Pricing strategy plays in an enormous role when it comes to listing your property for sale. Buyers are so savvy. They have so much information. They can get on realtor.ca and see how long your home's been on the market themselves, right? So they don't need to wait for a realtor to necessarily tell them that part of things.
I actually have a lot of educated buyers that say to me, is it true this house has been listed for this long? Is it true this? And it's just like, yeah, it is. It's right here. I have the information, but they are already aware of that.
Yes. So overpricing can deter potential buyers, especially in this market, right? There's still a lot of buyers that think that your pricing strategy may be to price low and be expecting multiples. And in a lot of cases, sellers' expectations are still at that level. But also at the same time, pricing too low could also potentially backfire as well.
Yeah, leave some money on the table. If you go too low, buyers aren't going to drop their pants anymore like they used to ante up more and more and more. And then even that point in certain areas, we're not seeing the competitive offers.
Yes.
We are in areas, obviously, that hasn't gone to the wayside.
Price range dependent,
Absolutely.
I think, for the most part. It's really, really important to make sure that you're working with a realtor that can go over the stats with you in your neighborhood with respect to pricing strategy, with respect to different amenities that a home may offer that are super sought after right now. Just the stats in general, being able to understand the stats and what they mean is really important as well.
And just because you think you might know what you have there isn't anything special. Like, you do need to have someone come in and take a look around and see what you have, because overpricing is, difficult now because of what the market was.
Yeah.
That sellers need to catch up with what's happening.
Yes. Okay, number 2 on the list, presentation of the home. First impressions matter. They always, always do. And in this market, there's a lot more inventory. Buyers have a lot more to choose from. And again, I know that there are buyers probably listening saying, where is it? I know that some price points can be very, very challenging. And some buyers are still finding themselves in multiple offer scenarios with properties going over the ask price. We totally get that. But it's not as prevalent as it was in the previous market.
Yep.
So impressions matter. That starts with curb appeal.
Oh, absolutely.
Your lawn, your gardens, your front door, your entryway.
Your lobby, yeah, like your foyer, because what was that commercial? It used to be you only get one chance to make your first impression or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to come off as one of the better ones and have a nice first impression.
Yeah, and it's not just the front of the house, the curb appeal, whatnot. Cleaning is so important. Do the little repairs. Buyers see things and, they want to get the best bang for their buck. So you don't want them to be comparing your house to another house when it could be just something minor that could have been taken care of quite easily prior to putting it on the market. Marketing approach is another important one. Having a marketing strategy, it's really key to finding the right buyers for your property. And making sure you get as many eyes as possible on the property is super important. Whether they're fully qualified or not, leave that up to the realtor to qualify them and get the right people through the doors. But the idea is to get as much interest in your property as possible. From a buyer's perspective, yes, that strategy sucks because it usually means that you're going to find yourself in a multiple offer scenario, or you could be
possibly
trying for that. But at the same, for the sellers, like that's what we're talking about. Sellers here, you want to get as many eyes and as much interest on your property as possible, as much foot traffic through the door as possible, so that you can get as many opportunities for an offer as possible as well. Aaron, you have one there you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I was just going to say, this goes a long way for me. I don't know why, but lousy pictures, lousy or no pictures. If you have crummy pictures, then I think that's a reflection. People are going to take that as a reflection on the listing, maybe the agent as well. I don't know.
Honestly, I would say definitely.
Yep. And if you don't have many pictures, like say you have the exterior and a backyard, nothing interior, most people are bypassing that quickly too. If there's no interiors, the first thought in their mind is, what's wrong with the house that you can't show me interior pictures?
Yeah.
So, I mean, pictures to me are important to get people to get an idea of what's inside and not just, exterior, interior. I don't know if it's a ploy to just get people through the door, but it helps people in making decisions.
And quite honestly, as great as iPhones are these days, do not settle for pictures that are taken on your phone or on a phone. Another one is market conditions. There's such thing as listing at the wrong time of year as well. I mean, you never know where your buyer is going to be. So I'll talk it about both sides of my mouth. Yep. You never know. It only takes one buyer. But traditionally, we typically don't want to list, say, normally like in the December months, unless there's a must-sell situation.
Well, yeah, you don't want to list
like
a week or two before Christmas and just waste time on market and not listen to what the agent's saying, because they're going to have an idea of what the market's doing, and it can affect your final exposure and how long you've been on market.
If we think of, listing days on market, yes, the average days on market are up, but the longer that drags on, buyers tend to attach some sort of a stigma against your property, or they think that they're going to get a really great deal, even though your property may have been priced fairly to begin with. So just some things to consider there. Sometimes too, it's just a matter of like a reevaluation, right? Sitting with your agent and going over all of the market activity within that period of time. So you can make really good decisions and pivot fast enough before your property goes stale.
And you need to, as agents and as sellers or buyers, everybody needs to be on top of that, because this seems to be an ever-changing market. So, I mean, it's buyer, seller, even market. Who knows what's going on the next week, right? So it's been a tough go for a little while, just trying to figure out everything that's going on.
Yeah. The last one, before we go on break, maybe the second last, is making sure as a seller that you're getting out of your own way. And what do I mean by that? I mean, make sure that you have a sign on your property. Make sure, because that's 24/7 advertising. Make sure that you're not declining showings unless you absolutely have to.
You never know if you're turning down
You
the top
never
buyer.
know. Yes, and if buyers want to see your property, especially in this market. So let's talk today.
Mm-hmm.
In this market, there's other properties that they're able to look at. They
Right.
may not come back, and we don't want to lose that opportunity. The other thing would be, try to make sure your home's available for showings through most times of the day. Like be flexible, I guess, is
Right.
the moral of the story there. And be educated enough, and that's between you and your agent, right? Be educated enough that when an offer comes to the table that's realistic or reasonable, be prepared to work with it. And when I say work with it, like we're back to negotiations in a lot of cases, right? So just because an offer doesn't come in at asking price doesn't mean that you can't meet somewhere in the middle. So reasonable offers are always, your agent will be able to tell you.
We just
if
need to
it's-
adapt to what's changed,
Yeah.
what's happened. It's not like some places we're still going in with, 4 or 5 or 6 offers to sit down and look at. Other places, 2-3 weeks later, we get an offer and we negotiate it. It's
Yep.
just the way it is right now. It's different. Will that change? Yes.
Maybe.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything's changed. It's only constant is change,
That's
right?
that's true. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. So that's the list for right now because we do have to go for a break. When we come back, we have Chris Gibb from Gibb Insurance Brokers in Amherstburg joining us with his insurance tip, and we will also tackle the stats for the month of June a little bit later on in the show. And we do have a popcorn gift card to give away for the Richmond Popcorn Company a little bit later on too. If you have any questions about what you're hearing, you can reach out to the team 7 days a week, 519-566-5565. You can also email us. You can email me, Joyce, at dangemus.com. But you can also feel free to call or text in questions, 519-792-2559 as well. Still more to come right here on the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show.